Don't stop, go get it,
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of James's Corner. I am your host, James Richardson, and today I have a special guest on, a good friend of mine. We've known each other for, I think, about 10 years now. His recent blow up on social media, we want to kind of get into his life and how he's been handling some of the struggles in his life. My guest today is Tony Deleon. Tony, thank you for being on with us today, man.
Yo, James, appreciate you for bringing me on.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. So let's get right into it, Tony. Just tell the audience about who you are, where you're from, what you're getting into, and why you're why we kind of decided to have this conversation today.
Yeah, so my name is Tony DeLeon. I don't know if do you know my first name?
Yeah, Helio.
Well, it's pronounced Elio,
Elio.
but
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
My bad. My bad.
Yeah. Well, kind of keeping it brief, I'm from San Fernando Valley, born and raised. Just turned 30 this August, so no longer in my 20s, but people say I still look like I'm 21, so that's good.
Yeah.
Got the genes. Good genes. But yeah, I mean, I met James through working through Elite Fitness, and we'll kind of talk a little bit about that. But yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I would say is, I value the mentorship you gave me when we first met.
Oh, thank you.
And something that really struck me was the day that you told me that you had a chronic illness, because to me, you look like a completely normal guy, bro.
Yeah.
6 foot, freaking, all yoked. But that's something definitely that I did not know about you. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Got 2 kids, you know, very simple.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that introduction. I appreciate the compliment. So, Tony, let's get into a little bit about obviously you have become a little bit famous online on TikTok. You've blown up over social media. So I want to get into that. Obviously, that won't be the whole subject of why we talk, but I want to let the audience know of kind of let us know the journey of how that came to be, why you decided to start making these videos, what the videos are about, and just share with everybody a little bit about why you got into this and what was the idea that planted in your mind to start all this stuff.
Yeah. So, my girl and I, we had our baby in 2020, March of 2020, literally right before COVID started. And once everything shut down, I was on maternity leave, so I was at Home Depot at the time. And obviously being isolated and away from everything was a huge change. And so one day my girl told me, she was like, "Hey, download TikTok, follow my little sister." She was like 13 at the time.
Huh.
So I'm scrolling through TikTok and I'm like, because the voiceovers and the dance videos were very, very like popular back then.
Right.
And I have I have the ability of memorizing like lines to like movies. So I figured like, hey, I could do this. So little by little, I just started kind of getting into it. And I saw how easy it was for me. And within a couple months, like I reached like 10,000 followers. And I was like, whoa, okay. So little by little, I just kind of started getting into it. And the main topics were like relationship videos. So kind of like people relating to, couple disagreements, maybe
Yeah.
your girlfriend being a little toxic, a little overprotective. So just along those lines. But then after a while, I don't, I, my timeline is I have bad memory, but I reached to 100,000 followers and then I just stopped posting for a while, just because, me and my girl, we were going through certain, struggles in our relationship, as every, relationship comes across. So I just didn't have the motivation to do it. But just recently, this past, I think February, I made a decision. I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna just start posting every day, 3, 4 videos a day. So I grew from like 104,000 to now up to date. I have 140,000 followers. Um, And I mean, it's not a big thing, obviously, just because you have followers.
Right.
The main thing is, not letting that get to my head.
Yeah.
Because my girl's like, even though you have this amount of followers, you got to remain humble,
Mm,
don't forget where you came from and stuff. So,
right.
so yeah, that's pretty much
I
it.
see. So what made you like was there something that clicked for you that made you want to get into all this?
I think it was just more, go ahead.
Because obviously, like when you start sharing about your life and people start seeing it, there's a vulnerability there that you kind of like have to break. You like if people are seeing how you act with your girl and your relationship, then all of a sudden you start to gain following, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, this is cool. But then maybe sometimes people are talking shit to you, maybe in the comments, or they're telling you that you are stupid, or they're saying that your girl isn't attractive. Like there's a lot that comes with all this stuff. So just tell me a little bit about like, did you realize that was maybe gonna happen, or did that happen like maybe later on?
I, I think in the beginning, I didn't really think it was gonna obviously blow up as it has.
Yeah.
But definitely, there's been a lot of negative. There's always more negative comments than positive ones,
Right.
you know.
Interesting.
And I tell my girl that, um, you know, people are seeing this from the outside in versus knowing what's actually going on. And a lot of the things that I post is not really scripted. It's just more like I tell her, hey, just say this and kind of
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
just wing it. And it's worked out for us. But I think a lot of people do take things a little too seriously, and everyone always has an opinion. And so
Sure.
that's kind of like what I try to do is like my main thing is asking questions in my video to get the viewer's response. And everyone always has an opinion when it comes to something. So if I say the sky's blue, someone
Yeah.
thinks it's red. So
Yeah. Why do you think
yeah.
that is? Why do you think people do that?
Um, to be honest, I don't know. Maybe it's just lack of understanding, or maybe people just trying to be devil's advocate.
Yeah, they love
Um, yeah, but I think for me, I try not to, from let's say the time that I met you up until now. There's so much time that's passed by. Um, I've learned so much through experience
that. Mhm.
versus what I knew back then.
Right.
When I was younger. So I've learned to not care too much about what people think, because it doesn't really affect me in any way, to
Right.
where at the end of the day, I still got to wake up, still got to take care of my kids, still got to, go to work. So whatever people's perception or their thought of me is not going to determine where my life goes or the decisions that I make. So,
Absolutely. And was there a
yeah.
time that like there that did affect you? Was there a time in your life where that did affect you with all this?
Um, I mean, I'm not going to say it didn't, but I think it was just kind of like trying to understand, okay, like obviously with this amount of exposure, there's going to be like, negative backlash. But I think the main thing is just making sure my girl understands, okay, hey, you know, I'm the one that's
Mm.
gonna, take all the shots. But if it gets out of hand where they're talking about you, or
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you know,
And I'm sure
personal
that's
stuff.
that's happened, right? Or it's gonna happen, you think maybe?
Yeah, I mean, well, now that me and my girl, we both are Amazon drivers, and one of the main comments is that, oh, since she works at Amazon, she's been around and stuff like that. But
Why do
little
they
do
correlate that? Why do they correlate that?
so there's something that um is associated with working at the Amazon warehouse, that you know people just mess around with each other,
I
like
see.
people that
Like a
are in
stereotype.
relationships. Yeah, people that are relationships, people that are
And
married, they mess around with their coworkers.
is that true?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard stories,
Yeah,
but like I've never worked in the warehouse. She's never worked in the warehouse. Like we work for a third party, so
I
that's
see.
something that most people don't understand. Like we deliver Amazon packages, but we're contracted by a third party company.
I got you. Yeah, I understand. I see that a lot around. Yeah, like, and a lot of people in LA like have their own vans and they just go around and do things like that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And what is your like main goal with all this, Tony? Like, what do you see yourself getting to in the future? Like, what do you want to do with this? Or is this just something that you're doing and it's just like happening as you go?
Nah, I mean, I think, I've seen the power of social media, the good and bad. The main thing is I'm trying to stay on the good path because,
Right.
you could get greedy when it comes to it.
Mm,
You could let the so-called fame get to you and you start burning bridges, you start treating people bad.
yeah.
And, that's not what I want to represent for myself. Because I've, like I said, I've come a long way to where, maybe the struggles that I had when I was younger, like insecurity, just kind of not being a man of my word.
Hmm.
That's something now I would like to, show people like, hey, like this is the changes that I've made, through experiences. And, I think one thing that I would like to do is I'll also be of service to people. Like, obviously if you have a following, use that to your advantage to help
Right.
others.
Right.
So like whether it's, one time I went out, in my own car, took uh filled up a cooler with ice, Gatorade waters, and I just went around, giving it to drivers because I know it's hot and stuff.
I
So,
saw that. I saw that
you
video.
know, yeah. So just trying to like, do good with the following, but also if you try to make money, man, because you can make money off of social media, especially
Sure.
with YouTube. Like I got approved to make money, but I just don't know how to do it. So I got to
Nice.
learn how to get
Yeah,
into that.
absolutely. Okay, well, yeah, thanks for sharing that with us. Okay, so that's the story of kind of how you got into all this with the TikTok, and it blew up quite fast. I noticed, I recognized it because, I've been watching and paying attention, and most people do watch and pay attention, even when you think that they're not.
Hmm.
So why social media is so interesting. But you said something before, like when you said before in your past life, like before previously, maybe when you were younger, you said that maybe you weren't a man of your word, and maybe you did things that you didn't like, and you had these insecurities. Was there a breaking point in your life that made you change your ways and be like, I don't want to be like this anymore, and have to kind of kill off that version of you? What happened there?
Um, well, I think just, the transition in, getting into a new relationship, having a child with someone else. Those are things that you really have to learn how to navigate because,
Mm,
um, you know, firsthand, I don't know how hard it is to, date someone that has, a kid. So I could just imagine, because I've honestly I've put my girl through a lot of things during our relationship, but the main thing is that I can't have the mentality that I used to have when I was single, going out and stuff like that.
of course.
So I gotta, I have two little ones looking up to me, so I really have to, you know, understand that I gotta be 100% there for them in a way where, they could rely on me if they need it.
Mhm.
Because they're time is going on and they're growing up so fast. And, you know, this is something that really is tough to talk about because like with my first child and my the baby now, like it's two completely different experiences. Because my first one, she was always with her mom. There were times where I didn't pick her up, made excuses to go out and party and stuff. So, and then now, my baby now, I'm with her every day. And that's kind of like the struggle that I have to deal with because I'm
Mhm.
like, I don't want the other one to feel left out or her feel like I don't love her because of that. Um, so that's something that I'm constantly thinking about every day, And the
Yeah.
one thing that I've tried to really focus on is to quit drinking because of my emotions, you
Right.
know, because the problems are still going to be there
Sure.
whether you're drunk or not.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
so yeah.
And maybe using the alcohol to numb out the feelings and things like that. Obviously, most people have been in that situation where you're trying to use substances to get rid of pain, and you're feeling something that you want to get rid of. So you use the alcohol or drugs or whatever. So
Mhm.
can you speak a little bit about that? Like, I know that you're not alone here, by the way. This is something that most men and most women deal with, but mostly a lot of men have to deal with this too, because, we go through a lot of pain in life and people try to put men on the back burner a lot of times and just say, oh, they can just handle it. But so speaking, like you said, you had a little bit of an issue drinking. I mean, I always spoke a little bit off camera. Can you open up and just tell us a little bit about how, like, because there's people that'll listen to this that maybe are in the same shoes as you or have been, and like, what would you tell them, like, how to get out of that, and what did you do, or some of the practice that maybe you still do? Because sometimes it's hard. We don't always get out of it scot free. Sometimes it pulls us back and brings us back in. So, like, just what would you say to people, or what are your experiences with that, and like, how did that affect you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think everyone who's had experiences with alcohol, um, I probably sure most people would say mostly bad experiences, the hangovers, maybe
Right.
like fights and stuff. But, um, you know, I think very early on when we first met, like I knew how to like freaking throw down beers and remember sleeping over,
I
wake
remember.
up 6 in the morning, go straight to 7-Eleven,
Uh,
start all over again. But I think it was just more like, and just recently, honestly, it got to a point where if I were to be arguing with my girl, I just be like, fuck this, leave and then just go, just drink and stuff. And it got to a point where either lose my family or take
yeah,
take control of the situation. Um, because it's very easy to run away from your problems. It's very
absolutely.
easy, but it takes a lot to own up to, take accountability for what you're doing and realizing it and taking action. So, just recently I've been going to a couple AA classes. And that's something that was just very kind of hard to maybe accept because
Mm,
everyone could be like, hey, I don't have a problem. I don't have a
right.
problem.
Yeah.
But then you're just prolonging
Sure.
the issue.
Denying.
And yeah, and it's funny because I was just about to say that word. The first class that I went to, the first topic they talked about was denial, like denying that you have the issue, whether it's alcohol or anything else. Like,
It could be many things.
yeah. So, I figured like I would always say like I'm a functioning alcoholic,
Yeah.
but it's just trying to, make
Justify.
myself feel better. Yeah, there you go, justifying
Yeah,
the
yeah.
the situation.
Right.
Um, but it was just more, being there, I really took into account people's experiences because there's people that have been far worse than I was hearing their stories. And so, there's a saying where I think it says, a fool learns from his own mistakes. A wise person learns from others' mistakes. So before, I mess up my life and, maybe do something bad
Yeah.
due to the alcohol, let me just kind of like take control of it now.
Right.
So yeah.
And what do you attribute that to, Tony? Like, obviously, you didn't just wake up one day and was like, "Oh yeah, I think I'm going to stop drinking alcohol now." I mean, what do you attribute that feeling to? Like the thought of maybe you starting to change and wanting to better yourself. What do you attribute that to?
Well, I think just the decisions that you make, when you're drunk, obviously you don't make the right choices. It's just more out of how you feel.
Yeah.
Um, so not only that, just I think my family, like my dad always tells me, you could lie to everyone and say that you're good. You could lie to me, you could lie to your mom, you could lie to your girlfriend, but you can't lie to yourself. And if you're not genuinely, you know, feel fulfilled,
Mm.
happy, and you choose to rely on, having a beer to fulfill that, then maybe there's some type of problem,
Yeah.
So I think the main thing is for me is my kids. I really want them to see their dad genuinely happy, and like I said, for them to be able to count on me.
And be the example to them, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because if they see me drunk or whatever, imagine like when they start dating, like
Ugh.
they're gonna think it's normal. So I kind of have to like definitely. I've taken that into consideration.
Absolutely. And you said you have two daughters, right? And we
Yeah,
spoke a little off camera. You were telling me about I obviously have met your firstborn daughter. She was always over at my house back in the day.
yeah,
So, but you were telling me a little off camera how you haven't seen your daughter in a long time. Um,
yeah.
can you explain what's going on there, or can you explain what happened or what is going on?
I mean, so we've been going to like court for I think almost 7, 8 years now.
Yeah,
And I don't know if you've ever been to court, but it is the most stressful thing.
not over that, but I have been to court before in my life. Yeah, but yeah,
Okay. Well, I mean, just in general, like going to
yeah.
court is
No, it's
just
awful. It's awful.
nerve-wracking. I always think I'm gonna go to jail, but um,
But why are you
like
guys going to court for so long? What is the battle?
so just child support, child custody, like
I
who has her more. Um, so I don't really want to get too far into like what happened because it's just a bunch of
understand.
So it's like one thing happened, one reason happening or whatever happened,
Yeah.
there's something behind it. So,
Sure.
but yeah, like you said, I haven't seen, my daughter in a year, which is, that's been a struggle in itself, just because, imagine not seeing your
No, yeah.
mom in,
I couldn't
in a,
imagine. I couldn't imagine.
yeah. So
Why haven't you been able to see her?
just, differences between me and her mom.
But she's
So
kept
like,
her from you.
yeah, I mean, just kind of like, she says for her safety, she feels like she's not safe around me.
Hmm.
A lot of times she says that, all I do is just drink and stuff, but that's not really the case.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
oh yeah.
That's not nice of her. Yeah, that's tough. So, yeah, I'm sorry you're having to deal with that, bro. That's not a nice thing to have to deal with.
Yeah.
When obviously, how is the process now? You said you went to a couple AA meetings. What made you want
hmm
to do that? Well, did something happen, or you just knew you were done?
No, definitely things have happened, just arguments with my girl. Um and obviously like I said, like when you drink, you're not thinking, and you can be mean sometimes when alcohol is involved. So
Sure.
um but at the same time it's just more, you got to stop the problem before it gets bigger. So, because I was drinking like almost every day, like,
Wow. And how much were you
couple,
drinking?
maybe like 2, 3 beers here and there.
Mhm.
But then like when the weekend came, do a 6 pack. I could kill a 12 pack in a day, but
Yeah.
I don't handle it as I did before
All
when I was
right.
younger. But yeah.
I see. I see. So you're going to that. And how is it now? Is it the same or you kind of cut it out? Or are you still battling a little bit?
Well, battling the cravings, craving,
Yeah.
having a beer, especially like, after working, you come home. But there's other ways to cope with that. So I'm really trying to get back into consistently being in the gym. So that's, we just came from the gym right now and I feel great, man. Like I feel, the
Good.
pump flowing in my veins,
Yeah, of
the blood
course.
going. So, and I honestly, I give a lot of that to you and all the other people that I've learned from over the years in the gym. So,
Yeah, thank you.
um, yeah, definitely. Just wish I had your height, bro. 'Cause
Well,
being
maybe
5'3"
one
ain't
day.
easy.
Maybe one
Being
day.
five, get knee replacement.
Yeah, there you go. Use some of that. Use some of that famous TikTok money to get your knees done.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to Mexico.
Right? Um, so a couple more questions. I obviously like I noticed that you have a cross on your wearing a cross on your around your neck. Now,
Yeah.
I'd be naive to say that maybe your journey hasn't been guided by God in some way and your faith hasn't been a big part of this because obviously what you're telling me a lot of times in order to get out of addiction, to get out of painful situations, the only option we have is to rely on our faith, right? So can you
Mhm.
speak a little bit about that? Maybe like a story that's helped you or what relationship you have with God that helped you get out of those dark times with the addiction or with the times with your first baby mother and all those things. Can you just speak a little bit about on that?
Yeah, I was raised Catholic. My mother is Catholic. My grandmother's Catholic. They're very big in the Catholic Church. My mom goes every morning on Sundays.
Mhm.
My dad, he's not really involved with like religion. He says he's Christian. My other grandma, she's a Jehovah's Witness, so
Interesting.
that's a different dynamic. Because growing up, she believes in Jehovah, and then my other grandma believes in. So there's always that tension. My one grandma's like, "Don't listen to her, don't listen to her." So it's
Tough.
like, hey, like I'm just
Yeah, yeah,
let
yeah.
me let me grow
You have to
up.
decide. You have to see what I mean, obviously, you have to decide on your own and how your life plays
Yeah.
out. But go, yeah, go.
Yes. So I've like I said, I was raised Catholic. Um, I've been to the Catholic Church, and to me, like not to like just shame it, but I never really understood it. It was just kind of like I wouldn't understand it. It was just not.
What
I
didn't you
couldn't
understand
relate.
about it?
I just couldn't relate and that's because I went when I was younger.
Sure.
Obviously
Yeah, we don't know.
attention span was not there, so
Yeah, we don't know.
yeah. So, but now, being I think it's been 2 years. We've been going to a Christian church. It's up in Porter Ranch. It's called Shepherd Church. It's a pretty big church. One day we just went, and a friend actually invited me to go there. And I think at that time, me and my girl, we were going through some stuff, and I just feel like we needed some guidance. And I've always believed in God. She grew up Catholic as well. Um, but I think just being around that environment
Mm.
of obviously people believing in it, the having faith, um,
Mm.
just walking in there, you could feel a change in yourself, um, and that's something that I mean I'm not gonna say we've been consistent because we haven't,
That's tough.
um,
It's
but
tough.
like every time we go, there's always a message that is said that we relate to, like something that we're going through.
Sure, of
Like, and
course.
I'm like, that's crazy. Like, it's just crazy how it works sometimes.
It's incredible how it works actually. When you really start to get into it and really like start understanding what this is, it's actually quite incredible.
Yeah. But I think the main thing also is like where I tell my girl is I don't want to just go, post it on social media and be like, hey, we go to
Yeah,
church. You got to apply what you learn because
absolutely.
if you don't apply what you learn, what's the point of going?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's something that, we definitely want to be. So we signed up for a couples life group. So where we go do Bible study.
Mm,
We were supposed to go this past Wednesday, but we didn't have anyone to babysit. So hopefully next Wednesday we'll be able to go for the first time.
that's awesome. And what have you learned so far?
In regards to,
In regards to like, maybe strengthening your faith and maybe, you said you going to church and just maybe applying it in your life or what has changed in your life and what have you learned from maybe opening those doors to God and letting him come into your life?
I think it's just changing your perspective on life,
Mm.
um, and then also just trying to have go pick her up. Okay. Sorry. Like I said, I don't know how to answer that, to be honest.
Like personally for you, like inside of your spirit and soul, what has changed for you since you started doing that? Did you notice anything drastic? Because I know you said you walked into the building and you felt what you're
Hmm.
feeling is the presence of God. That's what
Yeah,
that feeling is when you walk into something. Because
yeah.
God tells us that if there's two or more, he's with us. So if when you walk into a place like that, like a church, for instance, I mean, obviously
Mhm.
there's so much corruption in church now too. Like it's actually you have to be very careful what church you're going to, who you're like. There's a lot of that in that too. But the presence of his presence is always with you, I believe, and especially in a place where there's a bunch of people worshiping. And you said that you felt that when you went into something like that. Now, like in your
Okay.
life now, do you feel like anything has changed? Like, has he been doing work in you where like maybe some things you were interested in before are now gone, some things that were bad you're not interested in? Has any of that happened to you?
I would, to be honest, I would say not as much as I would like for it because like we haven't been consistently going.
Yeah.
Um, so usually we go Saturday nights, but now I work Saturday nights. So for us to go Sunday morning, it's just we don't wake up early enough to go. So, but I think in the sense of, you know, now that we've been going here and there, um, just trying to, just take the little bits that I've learned and just apply it to, like, okay, like with, the drinking, just kind of, because one thing that I do take with me every time
Yeah.
they talk is give all your worrying to God,
Mm-hmm.
give all your stress to God.
Yeah.
You know, one
That's
thing I do
easier
is,
said than done.
yeah, one thing I do is I do pray, just pray to, like, for strength, for guidance, because sometimes I feel like I know it all, but I really don't.
No, we don't know anything.
Um, and I think that's where we all tend to take life as, just kind of as it goes on. We really don't have guidance, because think about it, like through school you have a teacher, someone teaching you stuff, but once you graduate, who are you really having, to keep you accountable? And I think, if once we start, really applying these, whatever we learn at the, like, the couples Bible study, I think that would definitely help me, be able to see a change, because you're gonna have someone that's actually, like, reading the word and stuff, and
Yeah.
trying to guide you to have better relationships with people
Sure.
and ultimately yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate you sharing that, your relationship with him and what he's done for you. Is there anything else that you want to touch on, Tony? Is there anything you want to ask me? I always open it up at the end, because obviously this is an open conversation. And the reason why I started this show is to give my friends, people around me, people with great stories, to just be able to express themselves and maybe just talk a little bit about something that they're dealing with. Is there anything that you want to ask me or that you wanted to discuss before we go?
Um, yeah, like what's your main focus, like, regarding, because I know you just started the podcast.
Yeah.
What, like, how did the idea come about?
I've wanted to. Someone just asked me this question too on the last episode. I've always wanted to, not always, but I've wanted to start a podcast for myself for a while. I hosted one podcast a while back, and there was a lot of limitations in it. They were telling me what I couldn't say and all this stuff, and I don't like that. I like to discuss. I like to hear people's stories. Sharing my story helped a lot of people around me, and I believe that it's just my purpose to allow people to share what they have on their heart and in their mind. I think that that's important, especially nowadays. There's a lot of fake facade bullshit. And I think that people are looking for authenticity and truth. And they just
Mhm.
want us, they want some human interaction. And I enjoy that. I enjoy discussing and understanding people's lives. And I think that when you add a camera and a microphone and in front of somebody, they can express themselves and talk about what they're dealing with, and we can just have a conversation. My goal for it is not really like, oh, I don't really want to be famous and all this kind of stuff. Like, obviously, if that all happens out of this, that's what's meant to be, and that it is what it is. But the purpose of it is just to let people hear good conversation and maybe relate and say, oh wow, I was dealing with that too. And how do you get through that? And how do you understand it and maybe try to chip away at something that you're dealing with? Because we're all dealing with certain things.
Yeah,
And if I can have somebody on, or if someone can listen to my story and what I say, and they can say, wow, that's something that I've been dealing with, and it can help them, I think that's the purpose of why I wanted to do all this.
nice. Yeah, man, I see, the work that you've done, especially with the foundations.
Yeah. Yeah.
So proud of you, man,
Yeah. I
for,
appreciate it.
because obviously, like, you don't have to do it. You don't
No, and
have
I don't,
to.
I don't, I don't do it for money. I don't do it for any of that. I don't get paid. People think I
Yeah,
get paid, make all this money for it. That's why I do it. And I don't, I struggle like everybody else. But I think that it's more important to be honest and let people know that you can get through difficult times, because I think that's really what it stems from. And also,
yeah.
like, cystic fibrosis is one thing. That's just part of my story. But people can learn from things in my story, even if they don't have cystic fibrosis. People
Hmm.
can learn things from your story, even if they aren't in the same position. Like, we can all learn how to get through things. We're all going through certain things. And my story just happens to be one of that. I had a chronic illness, and that's just something that I wanted to, share with the world. And the opportunity that has come from that for me just shows that I'm on the right track. The good opportunities, not the bad, and just, I've worked on myself, like similar to you. Like I've had a interesting past, and I wasn't always the greatest person, and I wasn't always the greatest guy. And I wanted to be able to be honest and truthful about who I am and who I am
Hmm.
now, and the parts of me that I had to let die inside of me to be able to become the person that God wants me to be. So that's what I'm working on. Not to say that I'm perfect. I struggle every day just like everybody. But yeah, it's just I want to be able to let people share their stories, because nowadays only people that get to share their stories are people with 10 million followers on
Hmm.
Instagram. And I don't care about that stuff. So that's kind of the direction that we're trying to go with it, and just talking and hearing people's stories.
It's good, man. It's good. Yeah, but like going off of what I was saying,
Yeah.
just shows the heart you have, because
Yeah. Thanks.
like you could be doing a million other things, but you're choosing to really give back to people, and just like you said, like just sharing your story could connect with someone that might not be dealing with it.
Sure.
But just with even those that are going through it, you're giving them
Yeah.
that motivation, or just to keep fighting and keep going forward. So
Yeah. And the hope, hope is a big thing.
yeah,
Having hope that it'll be okay. Because if I didn't have hope and faith, I would have probably given up a long time ago. But that's very important. But yeah, I appreciate it, bro.
yeah,
It's been a journey, and I feel like I'm just starting, even though I've done so many things. Like this show is a big stepping stone for me, because it's something that has been on my heart for a very long time,
yeah.
and just gonna do it now.
Last question: when's your UFC debut?
Yeah, yeah, that's probably never gonna happen. But yeah, I love doing all that stuff, but getting
Yo,
it.
I see you. I see you. I'm like, damn. Imagine getting kicked by him. I'd fucking break a leg.
Yeah, thanks, bro. I really enjoy the sport, and I have a lot of respect for it. And
Hmm.
I just love to go and learn. And you know, people have asked me to fight a couple times. I just don't know. Like maybe one of these days I'll do a little fight just for fun, but it's not really something that's on the front lines of what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any more
Well,
questions or anything you want to add before we go?
no, I mean, if anything, we should get a workout in one of these days. Maybe we could do
Absolutely.
a
Whenever you
raw
whenever
video
you
shoot.
want. Let's do it whenever you want. I'm down the road, so whenever you're free, just come over.
What do you have? You free Sundays?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do Sunday, like a
Yeah,
Sunday.
we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. But before we go, Tony, tell everybody where they can find you. Tell them where they can search your TikTok, your Instagram, where they can share your content. Please tell the audience about that.
Let me see if I could.
Yeah,
How do
show.
you?
Huh?
There you go. The camera. Okay,
There you
guys. So this is my. I don't know if you guys can see it. Can you see it?
No, it's a bit blurry. There we go. That's better.
So that's my TikTok. Got my Amazon videos. If anyone wants to learn about Amazon, got Instagram. Same thing. Underscore Tony Deleon. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, and then I have the YouTube too. There you go. Tony and Kaylin. I think it's the same underscore Tony DeLeon.
Cool. So yeah,
So
guys, go follow him. Shoot him a follow, and he's making some good content, and it's pretty funny. And some of the stuff you put out is actually quite funny. Yeah, I think it's
appreciate it.
you have a good sense of humor with a lot of it. Some of the shit I watch makes me laugh. Some of this,
Let
especially
me
stuff with your girl too, it's actually quite funny.
look. Let me. If anyone like, this is what I tell people. Like, I tell my girl, like, I don't care. Like, regardless of what I post, people are gonna say stuff about it, whatever. But I think what people love the most is just the drama, you know.
People
So
love
that's what.
them.
So that's what I try to focus it on. So I mean, the main thing is just posting what you feel, and eventually, if it's meant to be, like you said, it's meant to be. So, but now I just gotta be smart with how you know, what I put out there and stuff like that. So, not bash anyone. Cause trust me, bro, like all the comments, people saying,
Oh,
oh,
I
I'm a
know.
little guy, oh, you don't make no money, or you're
People
your
are
girl's
awful,
cheating
man.
on you, and I'm like, just try not to like pay too much attention on into it, you know?
You can't, bro. Just do what you're doing, and if you feel good in your heart about it, then just keep doing it.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on, Tony. I think it was a good conversation. Obviously, everybody follow Tony and share his content. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, James's Corner on YouTube. And we will see you guys all next week. Thank you.